G'day everyone and welcome to the Australian Herpetoculture podcast. I'm your host Jason.
I'm your co-host Luke.
You go, mate?
Yeah, good dude, good. It's been a really busy week. I've pretty much finished my move now, so pretty stoked to be a little bit more settled. All the big enclosures are in and done. So
yeah
happy days.
Herp room now. I can hear the frog in the background.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, geez, he's going to start up soon, but yeah, if
it's not too noisy.
It's the mice bouncing off the wall or the crickets or something like that. There's always something here.
Yeah. Oh, what makes it a podcast, you know? It's a herp podcast, so you want to hear herps in the background too.
That's it. And I just fed all the geckos just before, so I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing them smashing crickets soon as well. But you know how it is. It's all good fun.
Yeah.
What about you, mate?
Anyway. Oh, man, just usual, same old stuff, busy with work and whatnot. So trying to get a couple of enclosures up and running pretty soon. So probably
we'll talk about
on
that.
The socials.
Yeah. What do you reckon? We'll save that for a rainy day when it's just you and me again. We'll just get stuck into this episode.
Yep, sounds good to me. Do you want to introduce the guest or?
I'll let you do it this time.
All right, no worries. Well, anyway, we've got Christopher Soul from Sunshine Coast Snake Catchers. How you going, mate?
G'day, mate. How you going?
Good. Good to have you on. Also, you're also part of the new show, Aussie Snake Wranglers.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's a bit of a new one actually for me.
Yeah. Watched the first episode the other night. I enjoyed it.
Did ya? Be honest.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I seriously did. I enjoyed it. That close call with the Eastern Brown.
Oh yeah, that was a rough call. Like student I remember when we first shot that, and we went back and had a look at the footage because obviously we have GoPro mounts and stuff, and the wrist mount on that call was just nothing but Eastern Brown. In that whole wide section was just Eastern Brown, the whole thing, and we were all just like the way we grade the episodes, we grade them in A, B, C.
Yeah,
and so generally like an A story is something that you like. That's kind of what you want every time if you can get it. But obviously it's up to the snakes. It's up to so many different factors. But yeah, as soon as we shot that, oh man, it was like, whoa, that was rough. And Stewie, actually, believe it or not, he was pretty rattled. Like at the end, I think of that
you
episode.
Could tell.
Yeah, you can. Like he puts the bag down. Like we don't even get him out of the bag, like and tail him out of the bag. Like he was rattled the rest of the day.
Yeah, no, you could kind of see his demeanor change a little bit on the video, like once it happened, and just that you could hear it in his voice, especially when he dropped it and it went down, and obviously you could see the cameramen were in the garden bed basically where it darted to as well, so you could basically hear his voice change and be like, oh no, this is like serious, pretty much. Like that snake went 1 to 100 so quick, and obviously, you know, like you guys are seasoned vets, like you know what EBs are like, and when I just remember when we were shooting him coming back because like, so everything in the show is like, there's no scripts or anything, like, especially when it comes to the snake side of things. Like we might go back and do some establishment shots and all that kind of thing, but like the snakes dictate how we kind of proceed. And yeah, when that happened, it went straight for the cameraman and straight between Dave's legs, and yeah, if you watch a couple of episodes in, not to post spoilers, but Dave has a excellent track record with having snakes between his legs. I think he's had about 4 or 5 Venoco between his legs the whole time we were filming, and every single time he's like Neville Longbottom from Harry Potter. He's like, why is it always me? But I tell you what, that just goes to show that, like, you hear all the people out there that say, you know, I got chased by an Eastern Brown, this and that. But essentially, that episode, they stood still. It went straight past them. It didn't even bother them one bit.
100%. And you know, we're always trying to push that to people. Like, you know, like with my other job, like we get a lot of that because it's out west, and you know, you get a lot of that. Oh yeah, the Browns, they chase you, and it's complete rubbish. Like it's hard to not say spoilers in the show because obviously I've seen a good portion of the episodes, but there's a really cool episode coming up. I forget which one it is, but you can just see the perfect example of what Eastern Browns are like when they're not actually, like, you know, scared.
when they're not being like cornered or anything and everything's just left to their own devices. Funnily enough, it includes Dave again. But yeah, no, it was a pretty intimidating call. And look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I always spout myself as the Sunshine Coast's worst snake catcher because, like, if I rock up and there's an eastern brown, I'm just like, oh no. It's always that sinking feeling, especially like, yeah, if it's under a certain size, if it's under like 3 foot, then you really start to get the sweats.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's
so
not
why
much
don't you?
distance.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say. So why don't you tell us? So basically, tell us a little bit about yourself. So what's your other job and what got you into it and all that kind of thing.
So my history, I actually started at the animal side of things down at SeaWorld. I used to work there as a shark diver. I used to work on the rides originally, just being like a little bit of a button monkey. And and then I used to hang around Shark Bay there a lot. And the boss, he asked me if I would be interested in getting a job there. And I was like, hell yeah. So I jumped aboard that. And so I was there for 5 years. Just as a shark diver there. And we used to take care of obviously the large sharks, the rays, and we used to do whale entrapment. So those guys that you see going out and they cut the whales out of the shark nets on the Gold Coast, generally they will have a diver there just in case things go south. We're not allowed to dive with the whales anymore like we used to be able to, but it's just there as a safety thing. So you're aboard the boat. Yep. And if for some reason someone gets their hand stuck in the net or something, and you jump in and you can cut them out of there in an emergency situation. So yeah, like I did that for 5 years and went worked down in Tassie doing some dive stuff, and then I came back and I started working at Australia Zoo, and Australia Zoo, and I was there for almost 7 years. Just in the croc reptile department. And look, aside from like, some turtle stuff at SeaWorld, I was pretty much fresh, like going through it first time. Like I was really lucky just to kind of slot into into a lucky thing, into a lucky position there. Just I started off mostly doing the husbandry and like water quality for the crocs there.
Yep.
Because obviously they've got a lot of huge ponds and all that kind of thing. They got a lot of crocodiles and a lot of alligators there. And so I was doing mostly water clarity. And then, as I slowly kind of built my skill up and all that kind of stuff and a little bit more experience. And then, just through natural attrition of people leaving and all that kind of thing. Just went up and started. I think I was like, starting to do some personal contact stuff, and you work with the Irwins doing the shows, and you do your own croc shows, and you go through the level system that they have there at Australia Zoo, and I finished that, so I was just about to start teaching and training the other guys how to do it. Funnily enough, Stu used to work there as well, and he used to be a crocodile handler there with me as well. Same with Mick as well, actually, the mullet man. He was a reptile handler there at Australia Zoo as well. We were all from Australia Zoo. Everyone on the Snake Wranglers show is worked at Australia Zoo at one time.
Wow,
there you go.
And then after that, so now I kind of freelance. Like I just do. So I do the Snake Wrangler stuff, but that doesn't really take up a lot of time. Generally, like to film the season, it's about a month. And then other than that, I actually work as a fauna spotter out in the mines. For the most part. And that's a pretty cruisy gig. It's obviously working for the bad guys in a good guy role, I like to call it.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. It's so hard in the animal industry, as you guys know, to earn a living that's not, minimum wage. And so after 2 jobs doing that kind of thing, and like over 10 years of working in that industry, I just needed money real bad. And so pretty much just looked for whoever paid the best and just kind of fell into it really with good friend of mine, Ryan Hart. He owns Inside Eco and Heritage, and he gave me a start and then just built it from there.
Yeah, no, that sounds like that's kind of almost like a dream job for a lot of people to work at Australia Zoo. So
Yes, it is. And they remind you of it all the time.
Yeah, I bet there's a whole bunch of juicy goss there.
Oh, yeah, there is. I mean, look, I think the thing is you don't stay at a job for 7 years if you don't enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
And so there's definitely good part. It's like any job. There's pros and cons to everything. And I can tell you right now, if they paid me the money that I make out in the mines to just do the awesome, like just do the croc shows and just hang with the crocs all day, I'd be back there in a heartbeat. Like,
yeah, that's right.
It is good, and there's such a good crew there, and the training, like you really can't, like as far as crocodile stuff is concerned, you just really can't get any kind of experience with crocs in that fashion anywhere else in Australia. Like, credit where credit is due. Like the training's top notch. Like obviously Steve taught all the guys that are there, and those guys now train everyone else that's there. So it really is a lot of fun, and running around and doing all that, and just being a fat guy running around in front of the big death lizard is a lot of fun.
That's a good one.
So what's kind of involved in your role as the fauna spotter?
So basically, you just work. So at the moment, I work. Well, sometimes we've just changed tender out there, but you work with the big gas companies, and basically, what's involved is you set certain areas that might have to be cleared or checked, or they might have just basically you're just the person on site that is the animal person. So it is good to because you do experience a lot of stuff other than herp. So you're dealing with possums and bats, and we always joke about to become a fully fledged fauna spotter, you got to do two things. You've got to get a 6-foot eastern brown, and you've also got to get a scrubbed possum into a pillowcase. So you get a brush-tail possum into a pillowcase, you're pretty much fully qualified fauna spotter, because I think I'll probably take the eastern brown over a fully sized possum, because they can be nuts.
You don't realize how big they are.
Oh, man, they're so intimidating as well. Like,
we've got a bird aviary here, and we had parrots, and there was real bad fires up, and there was a couple of like wildlife carers that basically the fires were encroaching on their property. So we basically just looked after a possum in the aviary for them for a couple of days while like they came down and looked after it. We just basically had the space for it, and you don't realize the size of a possum until you're there and how angry the buggers are.
Yeah,
like I'd walk in and change its water every day, but yeah, it just growl at me every time.
And that level just goes to 100 as soon as you collar them, and you kind of start to, really, like, it's for their own good, but they don't know that, and so they're definitely ready to push boundaries on that aspect. And they can be really intimidating, but it's all part of the fun, so basically, just to get back to what we think. So we clear a certain area. We'll go through and we'll assess the environment there and what's required, what they want to do with it. So whether they want to mulch it and all that kind of thing. And we'll just go through and we'll check all the trees, and we lift all the logs. It's pretty much just like herping. Like you go out west and you go for a herp, and you go lift some, whatever you can, try and find some cool stuff. It's actually like almost like professional herping, really. Like it's good fun.
Getting paid to herp. So if you guys find something, do you bag it up and then take it off-site and release it relatively close? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what it is. Like we've got species management plans in place where, so like if you find a possum or a bat or something, generally like we'll collect it, but we won't release it till dusk. Just obviously just to like limit the stress. Believe it or not, like the oil companies and all these big companies like the gas companies and stuff, they have a lot of scrutiny, and it's actually like done really well to keep them in line with that kind of stuff. Like they get a lot of pressure from environmental companies, which is a good thing. Like they need that kind of thing, and it's at a lot of the time it's not, you're not just a box tick. Like they're actively asking you, and you're supervising every machine, and you're there all the time.
Yeah.
Like they are doing quite well, to give credit to something that people probably normally don't, but they are doing quite well with that kind of thing and trying to keep the environmental side of things. Obviously all crossed off. It is hard. Like going out there, it's just a it's a multifaceted thing. Like you just have to be kind of good with as many animals as you can, and if you're not, then you learn like real quick.
Yeah. No, it's I've heard of a few people doing that. That'd be honestly a dream job for a lot of people too, getting paid to hurt pretty much and see wildlife.
I think a lot of it
and
just
getting
comes
paid
down to
pretty decent wage too. So
yeah, well, it all just comes down to whether or not you enjoy being out west for 19 days at a time, and if you can take the camps, and if you can take some of the guys. Like, obviously, a lot of the guys, they're just like you get it every day. Like, oh, buddy, snake catchers just use a shovel, like that kind of attitude. You get a lot of that, but once you brush that off and give them a little bit of stick, most of the time, most of the guys, I'd say 95% of the guys out there, they don't want to kill anything. They just want to they just want to do their job and go home. And they're always happy to watch the fauna catchers like cruise around and just run after like this tiny little snake or this possum, because they think it's hilarious, because they're just sitting in their digger and they're watching you wrangle a 6-foot eastern brown, and they're just like, look at this idiot, what is he? No, it is good, but it all just comes down to whether or not you can do the hours, because it's big days and it's a lot of time out
it's
there.
Essentially the same hours as the miners, pretty much, isn't it? Same
shifts.
Yeah.
As long as the machines are running, you're out there supervising and on call for any animal stuff. Like like I've gotten eastern browns in the kitchen before, and you get red bellies in some of the rooms. I don't know how they get in there, but it does happen. But it's good they've got someone on site and just come and grab it.
Yeah. That's pretty handy. So when did you start with Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast snake catchers?
Well, I've been friends with Stu obviously since we were at the zoo together. And I still remember we used to clean the alligator enclosures at the zoo, and he'd be on the phone the whole time. Like, he would do nothing. He'd just be on the phone, like trying to organize snake calls. And when he first started that, like I did snake catching as well. Just because it's a good side earner. Using your skills that you get at the zoo, and you use that, make a little coin on the side, and you get to find some cool snakes as well. So, I think it was probably been maybe 7 or 8 years, I'd say. I've probably been like on and off doing stuff with him. Like I haven't done any calls in a while, just because I've been working full time away. But it's probably been about 7 or 8 years. It's been a while. Time goes so quick.
Yeah, it does, especially when you start getting older and you have kids.
So just kind of rewinding it a little bit, how did you actually get involved in the snake catching side of things, and where did that start out? Like, did that stem from Australia Zoo? Like, is that where you got all your training for the snake catching as well, and then you took that upon yourself to then start going out and doing that?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. So with Stu starting the business while he was at the zoo as his own side gig.
Right. Yeah.
And then so on the Sunshine Coast, there used to be 2 major companies. There used to be Stu's company, The Snake Catcher 24/7, and Richie Gilbert owned Sunshine Coast Snake Catchers, which was the bigger company originally. And then Stu ended up buying out Richie and then combining both of them into the same one. So he's just he's done well. He's taken it from like a couple of calls a week to, like, in summer he's got a whole group of guys across the whole Sunshine Coast. We'll do 25 calls a day easy in summer.
Wow.
A lot of it's that perfect storm on the Sunshine Coast of where you get like where you get soccer mums impacted by snakes in the suburbs, and it's just that perfect storm of, it's just everywhere. There's snakes everywhere, and they move through, and people will be calling you up. They'll be like, oh, there's this big snake on the fence. It's like, well, you should probably just leave it. Like, it's probably not doing any harm. And it's like, oh, I've got dogs and kids, and then they get you out to remove it. And generally, like with most snake removals, like, we've got permitting requirements. Generally, it's just the closest available habitat. Because there's been a bit of research. I think there's someone in Brisbane doing a bit of research on carpet python relocation, and it's actually pretty damning. It's finding that a lot of the time, in really high numbers, I think it could be like up to 70%, where if you relocate more than 10 kilometers away from the snake's original habitat, then they actually die.
Yeah, right.
You might have to fact check me on that, like take that with a grain of salt, but it is quite high. They are finding that is an issue. And so obviously we don't want to do that, as we always try to say, like, hey, like the snakes don't mean you any harm and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit hard to justify that kind of thing if they're in your house.
Yeah.
Like if you got, you know, a big red belly or something like that hanging around in a kid's room, like obviously it's got to be moved. But yeah, it's always a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword here on the coast. Like, and with the show coming out, it's definitely in the forefront of people's minds more as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of toss up, like, as well. Like, I mean, it's good for business for Stu, obviously, but yeah, you've also got to look at, is it creating fear in people to push them to get rid of these kind of snakes?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really hard to comment on that stuff. Like in Caboolture and like Murrayfield where I am, you probably get maybe 5-6 calls a week. Just it's not a huge. It's not like people are like fending off snakes every 5 seconds down here, but it's you can get some big browns down here in the sticks, and so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, I've done a little bit of spotting of wildlife relocations and stuff down here as well. So I've done my fair share of catching brushtails and, you know, wrangling snakes and stuff like that myself. We don't have anything too crazy down this end, but yeah, it used to always be a case of, you know, if you got the snake out of the person's yard or their house or whatever like that, you'd kind of check if they were still watching you, and you'd almost leave them, you know, at the back door again. Not at the back door, but you kind of leave it close by just so you know, well, at least you're closer to home than what I could be releasing you, you know, because it is all suburbs here, so there's no real, like, you know, pockets of bush within a couple of k's with a lot of places. So
yeah, and we are finding it quite hard. It's an ongoing battle, also with the government as well, because our permitting requirement says that we can't release in national park. And so I mean, like, they're coming from a good place with that, like where, you know, if you have 1 square kilometer, that already has the amount of wildlife that it can sustain. And by introducing an outside force to that, you do obviously change the situation. But also at the same time, like, if you get like a python from someone's house, and it starts to limit the places where you can actually let it go. Like, someone's going to get pretty cranky if you let it go just behind their house.
Exactly.
And also, like, when it comes to the council as well, the council's a bit iffy on putting it on council land. So yeah, it's a constant battle, like, as a snake catcher on the snake catcher side of things, to find good habitat so that animal can be safe and secure, and you feel safe that it's going to survive and be able to do its thing.
do you find that with a few people up there, like, I'm going to guess that they're kind of like a diamond in the rough, so to speak, but do you find that there are some people up there that are kind of like, you know, oh, if you could just move it out of my house or whatever, like, I don't care if it's outside, you know, it's...
Yeah, with the non-venomous stuff, definitely. With the carpet pythons, the green tree snakes, that kind of thing. Generally, a lot of people, they just, some people want it gone, but others, it might be inside the house, or it might be in the roof, or it might be sometimes you do get people where it's like, oh, just leave it out the back. They just want it out of the house. But most of the snake calls, like, normally, if you can differentiate between, you know, a green tree python and a eastern brown, then you're already kind of that next tier up with understanding, and you're not just like sitting on a chair, like freaking out that, you know, it's going to kill you and your whole family. So most of the time, the people that are a little bit more educated, they generally are the ones that are like, oh, just leave it out the back. Like, I let snakes go at the back of my house all the time. Like, if it's close by my house, I've got bushland behind my house, and I just let it go out there. And I know, you know, because I've seen the snakes cruising around when I've gone for a walk down there. The same snakes, like, cruising, you might see like a couple of one with a nick on the back or something, and it's like an identifying mark, and you'll see it cruising around out there. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely with education, definitely comes understanding.
Yep. Oh, that's pretty cool. So how did the actual idea of the show for Nat Geo actually come about? Was that something that you guys came up with and you pushed towards them, or did they actually approach you about all that?
So Stu originally came up with the idea for doing some sort of show. I was with them pretty early when we were trying to do something with a company called Associate Media. And that's Dave, actually, the brown snake magnet. He's from Bundaberg, and he's got this media company, and he does a lot of like filming for like fishing shows. And he's like a freelance cameraman. And so the guys, they contacted Stu. I don't know whether like who contacted who first with that project, but I jumped on board with that as well. And that was obviously like 5 years ago, I think. And so we did a bit of filming with that, but it just wasn't really getting anywhere. And so after that, I think it was Dave from Associate Media contacted Screen Australia, and he sent what we'd shot to a whole heap of like producers and production companies and all this kind of stuff. And I think only one got back to him, and that was Colin Thrupp. And he was working, I think it was Screen Time, I think was the company. And and so Colin came to Stu, and then they hashed out a little bit of a deal, and then we shot a teaser screener kind of thing over a day, just with a couple of calls that we did like previously. And then I did a call just with a red belly at one of Dave's friends' house, believe it or not, just out of nowhere. And then I actually the next day I left for Tasmania, and I went and spent a year and a half down in Tassie. And as it was going, they took that screener and they shopped it to a whole heap of places, and Nat Geo, I think, just managed to say like, yeah, this might work, like this we might be able to make something. And then it's just kind of blown up from there. And so it's a little odd for us because the season that's out, the first season, we actually shot that almost a year ago now. And so it's been quite a long time. And we've just been kind of sitting on it and doing nothing. And so now, I remember, I think it was like a week before the show actually came out, it was just on everyone's Instagram. And it's funny, out in the mines, they actually they get cable out there, so they get Foxtel out there, the Lucky Ducks. And my belly in the trailer, because I got bitten by a carpet python in the show through my own stupidity. And it's funny because we got the girls on there, and the girls are all snake catching as well, and they're all like the eye candy, so to speak. And then all I've got is just my big fat white gut with a big carpet python bite on it, and that's pretty much my promo photo. We always laugh that the guys, we're just going to have everyone's bio, we'll just have their faces, but mine will just be my gut with a bloody carpet snake bite on it. So yeah, it's been a pretty good ride. It's definitely been eye-opening to the way the industry works, because it's definitely not what people think. 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't think, I've definitely learnt how it all kind of rolls, and it's actually incredibly hard in Australia to get any show off the ground here in Australia. You really have to kind of go overseas, and you have to go to your online streaming and YouTube and podcasts like what you guys do and all that kind of stuff. I 100% that's the future. It's definitely the future of the way entertainment in this space is going.
Yeah, well, you look at all the TV shows now. There's not many series on the normal old TV channels now, because everything just goes straight to Netflix or another streaming company, because basically everyone wants to watch it whenever they please. And if they halfway through an episode, I might go to bed, you can just stop the episode, go to bed, watch it again the next night. So that's the way media's going on everything.
On demand is always the best. And just from the old school days of just before Netflix came to Australia, and half the country was pirating Netflix from using a VPN overseas and all that kind of thing. And it's well known now that that's definitely the way the media landscape is going. And just it's kind of good and kind of bad, because it brings the budgets down, which is kind of a good thing, but also at the same time the companies know that, and then they'll just pay less. So it's always hard to create your own brand and all that kind of thing, and get that underway. So it's definitely we definitely feel really lucky, the fact that, and part of me is I feel kind of bad, because there's so many guys out there that have got such an amazing knowledge of herp and all that kind of stuff, and out of that they you got some fat wanker on the show like myself, and you got old mullet man Mick Bender, and he's there because of his like sweet hairstyle, and yeah, it's definitely been a ride. Hopefully it continues into the future as well. So
yeah, it'd be good to see it kind of progress. As you know, obviously I think the first episode's out now for everybody to watch. I actually hopped on and watched it again tonight just for a bit of a refresher. I was actually hoping the second one was already out, but it's a good show, and I honestly think that like there's a lot of shows out there that are pretty similar, but they're very over dramatized. You know, like you got that what's the one, Snakes in the City or whatever in South Africa.
Yeah,
like
South Africa.
You don't have to pin every snake with your hand, mate. Like
that's right. I think when we first started, like we had a little bit of a chat, like myself, Stu, and a couple of the guys, and we were very upfront with the fact that we didn't want it to turn out like that. We didn't want everything to be, like that classic reality TV show thing of where it's just got me screaming at the camera, Stewie, no, and then it goes to an ad break, and like you got brown snakes jumping out of cupboards, and like they're invading the suburbs and all that kind of stuff. Like it's just not based in reality, and I think like it is cool for you to like say that, because like we did work hard to try and make sure that wasn't the case. Colin and the guys did a really good job with the camera work and all that kind of thing to try to make sure that it wasn't over dramatized like that show. Because obviously, you check out the competition, you check out what other guys are doing, and it was pretty clear that like you might have something over there. Like I have watched Snakes in the City, and it is entertaining to a certain aspect. Once you've educated yourself a little bit onto the way snakes are, that's all just show. It's all smoke and mirrors. Like, that guy, he might use pinners and he might use tongs and all that kind of stuff. But also at the same time, like when the cameras aren't rolling, he's probably just cruising in there and putting the bag in front of the snake, and the snake just goes, yeah, righto, and it just goes straight in. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too is with your TV show as well, is the other thing that will probably benefit is because you're Australian, so you've got that whole big like, all the backpackers and everything. They're always like, oh, everything in Australia kills you. So pretty much you'll have, I reckon, a lot of people from overseas that'll potentially watch the show as well and enjoy it because of all the Australian wildlife in it.
Yeah, I never understand the backpacker thing where they're all like, especially like Americans and stuff, and they go back and they're like, oh, that's just a bear. And it's like, that thing is a death machine. Look at that. Like, it's just ginormous. And, like I love the, one of my favorite facts is in like Alaska, it's like illegal to lock your car just in case someone needs to use it to escape a polar bear. Like that's like one of my all-time favorite facts. And it blows my mind that they're happy just going from that to coming over here, and like, they're just afraid of everything, but nothing's really like, it's all creepy crawlies and stuff. And if you just leave them alone, like they'll just leave you alone. It's
exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, the same probably goes for bears and wolves and all that kind of stuff as well. But I think it's just, you stay away from the snake. Bears, they climb faster, they swim faster, they run faster. Like they're a apex predator. And meanwhile, you got a snake and he goes out 3 or 4 meters into the garden and he's waving around to make himself look like a big unit just so a kookaburra doesn't eat him.
Yeah, exactly. So with your shooting, like, have you got multiple film crews, or are they just kind of like they pick like who they're going to go with each day?
Yeah, we do have, we've got a filming like schedule. So basically if we need more, it just basically runs on what we need. So if we need more footage of, say, Olivia and Stu, then they'll be on for that day. Like Jess. Like, so Jess in season 1, Jess, unfortunately, she had a bit of work on, so she couldn't really get there for a lot of the time. And when I did some calls with Jess, and I actually missed every brown snake that we got. Every snake call we got, I missed the snake, and Jess missed the snake as well. And so we can't really use that footage if we if we rock up and we just look like useless Gumbies that don't know what we're doing. it's not really, doesn't really make that good at TV. So it all comes down to requirements of what kind of footage they need. Like Mick and Dell, obviously they run their own rig. They also run a wildlife demonstrating business called Wildlife Unleashed. So a little bit of plug there for you, Miko. They will definitely be listening to this.
I think I saw that pop up on my Facebook page earlier today.
Yeah. So they've just started. They've left the zoo now as well, and they're starting their own demonstrator business, and they're doing like kids parties and stuff. They've got like they got a couple of lace monitors, and Mick goes right into his Veno as well. He's got some type hands and all that kind of thing as well. So, but yeah, they're real good. But they like they're that couple. They're like a wildlife couple. So that they're like they love it. They love it. Like their house is a madhouse. I have no idea how they do it. You rock up over there and everything just feels so stressful. Like, I've got to feed all the birds, and I've got to clean out the herb cages, and feed the horse, and oh my goodness, couldn't think of anything worse than having to do the zoo job at home. But yeah, no, they do really well. Those guys, and they're great people as well. Like that's the one thing I think as well, like in the show, and it kind of does come across the chemistry that all of us have together when we are together, like as a big group, is amazing because we all know each other, and we've all known each other for like 7 years or so. So we all love taking a piss out of each other, and I cop the brunt of it for the most part, but I love it. Like it is what it is. So.
There's nothing like that Australian banter. Actually, while we are talking about banter, I had to ask, was Mick's mullet part of his contract deal with this, or is that like a genuine mullet?
It's funny when they originally were looking for cast for the show, they basically put a call out and they said, just make a 3-minute video of yourself. There's a good chance that those videos will probably make it into some outtakes or something eventually. God, I hope not. But Mick's video was classic, Mick. But yeah, his hair, I'm pretty sure his hair is a request from Adele. Like Adele loves the mullet, eh? I don't know what's wrong with that girl, but yeah, she loves the mullet, and Mick owns it. Like he's such a genuine Aussie bloke. Like I used to actually live with those guys in their granny flat out the back before I bought my house, and Mick would be mowing the lawn at like 8:30 at night. Like he is a crazy man. And he'd just be out there like with a beer and some stubbies and no shirt on, just with this wild mullet out the back, just on the ride-on lawnmower, just cruising around at 8:30 at night. So yeah.
Sure, the neighbours love that.
Oh yeah, no, Mick is about as genuine as it comes. I don't think he'd be in a contract at all, but he played a bit of a joke on all of us a while back, where he showed a picture and he just had a shower, and he'd actually it looked like he'd shaved it off, and he was like, "Oh yeah, guys, just letting you know, like I just thought it was a bit of a change." And then he posted a video of him like flopping it out afterwards, and Stu actually panicked for a little bit. He was just like, have you actually shaved it? Because I'm going to have to let Nat Geo know. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was like main selling point for sure.
It's pretty iconic Australian haircut, the mullet, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And you know that it's reaching the peak when it's in the footy as well. Like it seems like every second or third like footy player now has a sweet mullet.
So they're coming back now, aren't they?
Oh, they are. It's always funny to try and pick the trends. I remember my mum used to tell me that the trends are always recycled. And so now we're at the 80s. Pretty soon grunge is going to be back. So get on board.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have to grow my hair out again.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't have the option, unfortunately. I could go like super slick with a real dirty mullet at the back.
There's always a nice quality amount of wigs. I reckon we can get a sweet mullet wig.
Oh, yeah, I probably could actually.
It's a nice business idea for Mick. I reckon he should sell Mick branded mullet wigs.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that was a pretty thick carpet they pulled out of that fridge, though. That thing was a monster.
Yeah. We do get some, like, so carpet pythons are probably about 70% of the snake calls that we do. A lot of people don't realize that the venomous stuff is really rare to begin with, and venomous stuff inside houses is ultra rare. Like I can probably count like under 10 of times where I've done a venomous snake call inside a house. It's almost always carpet pythons. And, you know, the snakes they're a lot like people. Like, some of them are cool and some of them are jerks. And a lot of the times you get like the really old, they're not cranky, but they're just, most of the time they're pretty chill when they're a bit older. And so, yeah, I remember the one snake call that I did a while back, and it was a huge carpet python, like just over 3 meters for sure, and he was super thick. And it was at a piggery just at the back of Mullaney, and it had killed 14 piglets in one go. And it was just like, wow. Like, I couldn't believe that the farmer even wanted it removed. Like, most of the time, those kind of guys, they're just like, you know, take trouble with it. Yeah, they for sure. Especially like if it's creating a monetary deficit in your business. But yeah, like he was just like, nah, I don't want to kill it, mate. Just get rid of it. He was really down.
Yeah.
They were in a confined space. So
yeah. Have you guys come across any, like, obviously captive animals? So, like, you might come across, say, like, stuff that's not found in that area?
This is, yes. Funnily enough, my very first snake call was a bredli python.
Yeah.
And to show, you know, like I'm always one to show my my inexperience sometimes, and I actually released it accidentally. Funnily enough, I got the same snake probably about a year later. I'd say probably 100 meters away in a house, in a garage. And it was definitely the same snake, because it definitely had some, like, I took pictures of it, because I remember going like, this is the most beautiful carpet python I think I've ever seen. And bagged her up and let it go. And I called Stu and I was like, there you go, mate. First snake call that I've ever done and dusted. And I sent him the picture and he's like, mate, have you got that snake? And I was like, oh, no, I just released it. He's like, you're an idiot. And I was like, why? He's like, well, it's clearly a bredli. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. And I never lived that down with the boys. He went and told all the boys at the zoo, and I never lived that down ever again. But yeah, we have gotten a couple of bredlis. It seems to be mostly the centralians and stuff. You do get some jungle, but it's mostly carpet python varieties that you do get a lot. But yeah, other than that, not really. Most of the time, like I said, most of the stuff inside's rare, so it's mostly carpet python varieties. But yeah, definitely, I'd say probably about 50 over the years between like me, Stu, and all that kind of stuff. We've gotten some pet snakes and had to put posts up, and then a lot of the time they just get surrendered. Also, I think we do get a fair few snake calls where police they might raid a questionable house and they find illegal reptiles. And it does happen. It is a little bit of an issue because it's like, you know, a lot of the crims, they just love reptiles. They love drugs and reptiles. So, you go in there and, you know, they'll just have like heaps, and the coppers don't know what to do with them, so they just call a snake catcher.
Yeah, I've had a few animals over the years. Actually, I've got one still here that's from originally from a raid. So, you know, but they eventually just go through the network, and obviously they can't be released again because God knows where they actually came from. And, you know, they don't want to risk any sort of quarantine issues or anything like that either, depending if they're having it. So
it's definitely one of those things that more people don't realize that's, you know, semi-common. Like, it does happen. Yeah. And because with reptiles as well, like reptiles seem to attract the, you know, poachers and all that kind of stuff for some reason. I don't know why. Like, people just love reptiles, hey?
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know why they go hand in hand like that, but unfortunately it's just the way that it goes, I guess. But down here in Sydney, you get some pretty interesting snake call outs every now and then. It's always fun to watch the Sydney snake catchers pulling out boas and all sorts of stuff like that. You know, seems to be a lot of those kind of things getting around.
We had one of those things on the Gold Coast recently where a red tail boa constrictor was making the rounds around. I don't think they ever found it. But
I remember hearing about that actually.
Yeah, someone snapped a picture of it. And I remember Tony Harrison. We get along quite well with Tony. He was cruising around. He was on the case They did a bit of a piece on the ABC for it, but I don't think they ever got it.
Yeah. He does some good YouTube videos, Tony, actually, of just like his day-to-day with his GoPro or whatever like that out there. I always enjoy sitting down and watching a few of his call-outs every now and then. And, he's pretty good at educating the public too, I think. Like, considering he's just on the fly sort of thing, he does pretty well.
Yeah, no, I was flabbergasted when he got bitten by that like little juvie Easton Brown, and he pretty much just filmed the whole thing. Like we do have a rule on the show where if something bad does happen, camera guys we never stop filming, just in case. Obviously, we don't promote that kind of thing. Accidents do happen, but that we rarely stop filming with that kind of thing, just in case, because it does make good TV, and I think with Tony as well, because I do know that he is allergic to Easton Brown venom. He's been tagged a couple of times, and he knows in himself, like he knows that if he's been bitten by one of them, he's in a lot of trouble. And for the fact that he did film the whole thing, and he kind of filmed the process as well, which I think is quite important on, respect to him, filming the process like in hospital and all that kind of stuff, because a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't see the repercussions of what happens if you mess around with these animals, and that's obviously extremely, it can be extremely dangerous in the back end when you even get to hospital. Like I've heard stories of doctors and nurses. They've had someone come in and they've been bitten by a snake, and they start unraveling your compression bandage, and the person knows, like, please don't do that. I don't want to die.
Yeah. Releasing it too early. Yeah. No, it's have you had any sort of like close calls yourself?
Nothing of anything with substance. You always get. It's funny, like when you first. It's the same with the crocs. Like when you first start out with dangerous animals, things that when you first start out would really scare you. They don't necessarily scare you as much, or your limits, so you can kind of push yourself a little bit, like as you get things. But I mean, obviously, accidents do happen. Like I've been bitten by carpet pythons plenty of times. Like I mean, I get bitten on the show, and it's on the trailer. But yeah, that kind of thing. That was my own stupidity. Like I was just transferring the snake. We caught so many snakes that day. I was transferring it from a hoop bag into a pillowcase, and he just happened to not be a fan and smash me right on the gut. And we weren't filming or anything. Like I had my GoPro running. We normally always do. Had that running, and just happened to catch that. But yeah, like I've been bitten by carpet pythons on the hand, and like at the zoo you do get bitten a fair bit. Nothing of anything scary, obviously, but like I was training just to be handled, like I was handling diamond python juveniles every morning during the meeting, and they'd bite the hell out of me, like through the whole meeting, and eventually the thing, your hand's all bloody, but it heals up in a couple of hours, and you're all sweet. But yeah, that kind of stuff happens a fair bit at the zoo. Like it's definitely a little bit different to a government zoo. You can kind of get away with a little bit more stuff like that and handling kind of thing, because obviously it's better for you to get bitten than it is for a member of the public to get bitten. So by putting them through that kind of training and trying to get them a little bit used to being handled, it comes out better in the end.
Yeah, I have to say, when I was watching that episode and the promo where you do get bitten on the guts or whatever like that, and you're like, oh, I got bitten on my favorite bit or whatever like that. I was eating my dinner and half blew it out my nose.
That was so funny, that section, because I said, like I was after I got bit, I was so embarrassed, for one. Like I was just talking to Stu, and because he held on as well, like he didn't just bite and let go, he held on. I thought we were going to have to break out the credit cards and try and like get him off me without, leaving all his teeth in my belly. But yeah, like I said a whole heap of things, and pretty much the guys just like edited it right down to just that one teaser, and that was it, like that, and that's just gone out and it's on every single promo. And like the girls from Disney, when they were talking about the stuff in Nat Geo, like they were laughing and like they were loving it. No, I felt like such an idiot. It does happen, but yeah, it's like just having a picture taken of you on the toilet or something. That's what it feels like.
Oh, well. That's all in good fun, though. At least you're a happy guy to kind of, accept the banter and accept the fun out of it. Like it'd be only worse.
You made light out of it, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think I don't think anyone in Australia can have a snake show and not expect a little bit of banter in return. Let's be honest. The a lot of the time, the reptile industry can be pretty rough on itself. But yeah, these kind of things happen, and it is what it is. I think I'm pretty happy. I'm always happy to be the dickhead of the group. Definitely.
There always needs to be one, though.
Yeah, that's it.
There has to be.
Well, it's a pretty colourful group of people, though. Like it's, it's you seem like you're all pretty diverse in that sort of sense.
Yeah, that's definitely the one thing that we really enjoy is that we're all different. And like we did a big promo day where we shot all the photos and we did all that kind of thing, and all like the voiceover stuff that they're doing in the advertising. And like we had so much fun on that day. We were like, oh, can we just do this every day? Like this is so much fun, like because we're all just taking the piss out of each other, and we had like all the banter, and while at the same time being professional about it. But yeah, we just loved it, and we all, like I said, we all get along. We all know each other outside of doing this kind of thing. So it helps. Like Jess in the show, she's a fauna spotter as well. Like I work with her doing some solar farms out west, and Olivia, obviously she's from Creek to Coast, and she also does Discovery Kids, and so she's got TV stuff. But yeah, like we all know each other, and we all like party together as well. Like we'll have beers and we'll all go out. Like Mick lives 10 minutes down the road from where I am, and we'll probably be at the sports club like next week and just sit in the bar having beers, like it's good being tight knit like that, and it shows in the show.
Yeah.
So when they edit the episodes, do you guys have a say in what goes in, what doesn't, or basically they just come out film and then you just kind of don't see it till it's all edited and put together?
No, yeah, we don't have a say in it at all. It's I had to come to grips with that. It's a bit scary, to be honest, because at the end of the day, as well, like it is also your personality. You're putting yourself out there, so you're kind of at the whim. And I do remember this was probably a big thing with old mate. What's that show? I think it was Married at First Sight, where old mate was like actually a nice guy, and the producers pulled him off as like this total wanker. And now I just realized that I'm outed myself as watching Married at First Sight. But yeah, like you are definitely like in these kinds of shows, you are definitely at the whim of the producer and of the editor. That can be really confronting as well, especially just because if it does go well and a lot of people do see it, then you are you're trusting them to not make you look like a dickhead. But if you act like a dickhead already, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's a little bit different to like, Jason, myself. Like I put myself out there on YouTube and obviously doing the podcast and stuff like that. But at a moment's drop, I can just be like, no, I don't like that. I just don't put it out there. It's easy to do that. Yeah. But, you guys are signed on the dotted line and signed your lives away to essentially be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, like I said, it's definitely a learning experience, and that kind of stuff. You have to get used to it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, like you often hear that quite a bit with different shows, how they've been portrayed and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I do a catching snake, so there's probably not really too much they can mess around with your personality and all that. It kind of all comes to light anyway.
I think as well, like it can make or break people. Like a lot of people, they're extremely uncomfortable with that. Like I'm definitely the kind of person where I just kind of own it. Like with the snake bite, like I just owned it. Like it is what it is. Like it happens, and as long as no one kind of puts you out there, like I'm always the first one to take the piss out of myself and always admit that there's always someone that's a better snake catcher or someone that's got more knowledge than you, and especially me. Like I'm like I got trained at Australia Zoo. Australia Zoo, I feel like, is sometimes referred to as the McDonald's of zoos. And so yeah, like it is what it is. Like I definitely push the entertainment side of things more than I do for the knowledgeable side. I leave that to guys like my friends, you know, like he reads Wilson and Swan like back to back, and he can tell you, you know, everything about all that kind of stuff, like all the amazing herp stuff. And he's like my go-to. Like if I'm struggling with an ID or I find something that I've got no idea about, I always go to him, because those guys always have their place in the industry. Definitely. Like it's almost like there's a split like between the people that push the entertainment side of things more and the people that are just super knowledgeable. And you know, like there's always in betweens, but yeah, there's definitely room for all, I think.
100%. Yeah. Speaking about IDing things, that kind of is going to lead me into a bit of a question. Have you got like much herping under your belt, or is that something that you actually do on the side as well?
I'm pretty lucky because I kind of get to herp for a job. So yeah, like they're a bit strict with that kind of stuff out there. Like you can't really leave camp like at night and just go for like a herp, you know. Just from the safety side of things. But yeah, like we've done some herp expeditions and stuff. Like we always love cruising around the Brigalow Belt, like St. George. We try to find St. George mulgars, that kind of thing. Like obviously things like grey snakes, all that kind of stuff. Like just like really cool stuff that's super like rare, and it's kind of unique to that area. But most of the time when I travel, I try to include some sort of animal related stuff. So like I just got back, I went up to Cairns and Cape Tribulation for a holiday not too long ago. And, you know, like like myself and my missus, like we love animals and all that kind of thing. So we went on the croc tours, like the ones that are, you know, more natural, no jumping croc tours or anything, but things like cassowaries. And we saw like the Australia's smallest kangaroo at Cape Trib. So like just things like that's pretty cool. And I just have a love for animals in general, but not specifically like going somewhere for snakes. A lot of the time I try to keep the snake side of things a little bit away, just because that's what I do for work. No one really likes to do their work as like fun as well. Like I'm kind of lucky in that respect, where being a fauna spotter is almost like herping pretty much. Like you're cruising out. I mean, you normally only find the same animals. Like I think the last snake I found there was a spotted black, which was pretty cool, because I've only seen like, you know, maybe one or two of them before. So even that kind of thing, like it's still fresh, still pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I suppose, you know, if you're getting paid to do it, then I wouldn't waste my time otherwise as well. You know, you're kind of already spending, you know, 8 to 12 hours a day or whatever going and doing it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of people's dream job. I know I'd love to do it. If I could get paid to do that, I'd quit my job in a heartbeat.
Yeah, man, sky's the limit. It's like I said, fauna spotters are at the moment. Like, there's a lot of work on. There's not a lot of fauna spotters around these days, because a lot of people use it. Because yeah, like it is good money. Like, definitely admit that. Like, but a lot of guys use that to fund their own business ideas and their own thing. So, you know, like some of the guys, they start like their tour companies, or they might start their own environmental company and all that kind of thing. It is a good spring off position to do whatever you're passionate about, whilst also getting money. Like that's a thing. Like a lot of the time, a lot of the zoos, and you're kind of underneath them. It's hard for you to express yourself and to get out and do your own thing when you're underneath that regime. And so by doing that and doing your own thing and having the money to back yourself, you can kind of get out there and do that.
Did you find that the same at SeaWorld as well when you were there? Like that you were kind of really under the belt there, so to speak, or like you didn't kind of have that room to grow there so much?
Not as much. I think the difference between Australia Zoo and SeaWorld, like the role that I was doing there was a little bit more of it's like an underwater laborer. Like you're a zookeeper to a certain extent, but you're like it's not as like knowledge based. Like you obviously learn the sharks, you learn the fish, you learn behaviors, you learn all the same stuff you would that any zookeeper would. But you're not really pushed to do your own thing. At least when I was there, like I was still quite young. I still do shifts there every now and then now. Like I'm still on the books there. So every now and then, like I will rock up and I'll do some shifts there. And it's good to just get underwater and hang with the sharks, like, because they're such peaceful animals. Like they just cruise around all day and do their own thing. And then as soon as something tips them off, they just go and smash some fish in front of you and scare the crap out of you. But yeah, like I definitely think that it was more of a push to do that at Australia Zoo than there was at SeaWorld, just because of the entertainment factor. A lot of the crocodile handler guys there, they're doing the shows. They're, like they're going out, they're feeding crocs in front of 6,000 people, and that pushes them into that sphere of entertainment, as opposed to like the knowledge side of things and the actual zookeeping stuff. I always used to say to the guests there that, like 5% of what you see there, like at the show and all that kind of stuff, is the actual role. 95% of it's like picking up poo and trimming enclosures and building fences and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's the stuff you don't see that's kind of the majority of the work. All the not pretty stuff.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's still kind of good to just work with some of those animals, though. I've never been to Australia Zoo personally, so I've always wanted to go there.
Well, it's funny. Like I'd never actually been there before I started working there, and I did, like I said, I did enjoy my time there. I did used to love the shows. I did used to love training, like the working with the crocodiles as well, because a lot of people think that the crocs are tame and all that kind of stuff just because they've been there for so long. But those crocs, like they will kill you. Like they are very serious business, and especially a lot of the crocodiles there are all graded. All the snakes are graded, and as you guys know, in captivity, a lot of the time, some people can get quite complacent, and it's unfortunate that incidents do sometimes happen. Obviously, nothing like big, but every now and then something will happen, and you'll be like, "Ooh, that was bad. That was uncomfortable. I won't do that again." And a lot of the time, it comes down to the fact that the crocs especially, they've just got time on their hands. They're so lazy. They just chill out and they can watch you go through the same path, and they learn behaviors. Like they're just that next level up. Like they're smart. They know what's going on. They watch you go through. You might pull a mower through the same section that's really tight to the water. They might watch you do it 1,000+ times, and that 1,001st time, they're there waiting, and they strike out of the water and they miss you, but you still crap your pants and run away and jump the fence, and you're just like, holy moly. And then the crocs are just like, that didn't work. I might try again in the next maybe 2 years. And then you just know it's coming. And it's good. It keeps you on your toes, keeps you always thinking about your own safety and what you're going to do and where you're going to go in a pressure situation.
Yeah, they definitely seem like the ultimate ambush predator, right? Like at the end of the day, they just have that next level of intelligence as far as reptiles are concerned, and the fact that they just seem so patient. That's the thing that's scary about them.
Oh, 100%. And it's at the zoo, because it's a captive environment, they also see you not so much as food, but they see you as a threat to their territory, because that's like in the show, that's what you're getting is a territorial response from them. They're not really too fussed on the food. Like those guys some of those crocs there could probably go for like 3 years without being fed, and that'll be sweet. But yeah, a lot of the time it's defending their territory. They go out, they try to get you, and they get the food as the consolation prize. But yeah, like you can see it in their eyes. Like if you slip over, like I've seen some of the guys, I've been backing them up, and they've slipped over in front of the croc, like just a little bit, and you can see the croc's eyes like they know that you've made a mistake, and they're trying to capitalize on that. And it is a next level intelligence with that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's mental. I just couldn't see myself ever doing anything like that. Like I've done a bit of work with venomous snakes, and I've had enough of that already. So to kind of go and work with those big swamp lizards. Yeah.
I'd actually like probably pick the crocs over working with Veno, just because the Veno, it's on their terms, and they're so quick. Like those snakes can be so quick, especially like when you start working with like the taipans, and they got some cobras there. Like the female cobra at Australia Zoo, I'm not too sure whether she's on display. She's probably about 9 foot. She is the scariest animal that I've ever seen. Like she's so intimidating, and she's just completely hooded up, and she can just push boundaries, and you just got to be on your toes the whole time. At least with the crocs, like you're in a big open enclosure, there might only be one animal in there, and you know that if you mess up, like, you know, you're gonna probably die. And so with the snakes, like you might just be going about your business and cleaning on the other side of the enclosure, and then like they'll just be straight over to you, and you'll like hands up and you back away, and yeah, they're just super, super scary. Like it's good. It gives you hard nipples, that's for sure.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, nah.
I can't process like even just being able to do that. Like, I mean, I went to Fog Dam, 2019, and like I know it's a very different setting in the zoo where you've got kind of like that nice clarity water and stuff like that. But you know, being in a space where all of a sudden you can't see anything, you're like, oh, I could get pretty close. I reckon I could grab that water python, and then like you just see a couple of eyes or something pop out of the water. You just go, nah, fuck that. I'm not going near that.
Oh, when you're working with the crocs, as soon as you have that thought, like, oh, I could probably, the answer is no.
Yeah.
It automatically reverts to a no.
Yeah, so I'd prefer to work with crocs and venomous snakes, I think, just purely just how quick some of those venomous snakes are. I'm not saying crocs aren't quick, but
I agree.
Yeah.
I kind of think in the sense that like you'd be able to correct us here, Chris, but I think venomous snakes are just less predictable, right? Like you can kind of know what a croc's thinking most of the time and kind of be able to work around it. But yeah.
Yeah, there's always there's definitely always like outliers to that kind of thing. It depends on the crocodile, depends on the attitude. Like I said, all the crocs are graded. There's a croc at the zoo, Charlie. He used to be one of the crocodiles that Steve used to work with. He's a level 7 crocodile, which means he looks past the food. He thinks on his feet. Like he's doing whatever he can to get you. Whereas the smaller crocodiles, like there's a crocodile there, my favorite crocodile, actually, Scrapper, who's the son of Agro, the famous Agro. You know, like we could probably, like, if we did have an accident, you could probably take him down, like not down, but like you could wrestle him to the ground with 2 people. That know what they're doing. But yeah, like crocs to a certain extent, you can kind of, you know, like 99 times out of 100, you can definitely like know what's going to happen. But it's just that outlier, and that's why it's such a risk, is because, you know, they do have the size and they've got everything in their playbook to be able to take you out if they need to. Whereas with a snake, slight accident, like, and a slight misjudgment and a slight bit of complacency, and you know, you've got 2 teeth marks on your hand and you're on the way to hospital. And it's happened before. Like guys have been bitten at the zoo and they've jumped in the ambo and they've spent the night in hospital for sure. So I'm torn. Like I obviously love both like kinds of animals, definitely. But yeah, I think I'd always probably pick the crocs as well, just because snakes when they're really on and they're like, you know, super food motivated, or they're just really just cranky, they'll sort you out real quick if they have to.
Yeah, when I did my massive day of handling course for my wildlife group that I was with, and it was a really hot day. It was probably like a 32-degree day or something like that. And the last thing to come out of the bags were the Eastern Browns, and like they'd been heating up for a fair whack of time out there. And I tell you what, I needed new undies after that, because those things were so bouncy. Like you'd get them into a hoop bag or whatever, and they'd be shooting out the top of it again. Like so many guys had to drop the hoop bag because the heads were back at their hands, sort of thing. Like within minutes.
Yeah. And it's always a good thing with those kind of you know, learning ability there, where like people need to see that, because that's what the wild snakes are really like. Like they think that they're fighting for their life. And so they're giving it 120%. And a lot of the time people, you know, they get those courses and they see the captive snakes, and then they go out and they try the wild stuff, and it is next level, because they're just not, especially with browns, like, you know, red bellies are pretty complacent, that kind of thing. But yeah, as soon as you start pushing in with brown snakes, they're almost always ready to push back. And that's what people definitely need to realize with those courses. Is it's probably a good thing that they were so hot and that they were like real uppity and all that kind of thing, because it sets you up for success.
Yeah, it was a funny day because, like, you start out with things like your red bellies and that, and I was like, okay, I think I'm getting this. This is pretty good. Like, you're tailing these things and getting them into bags, and it was still warm then, but I think they were a lot easier. And then I was digging. What was I digging? Can't remember what it was. It was another black snake. I think it was like the blue belly or whatever they're called. Like the what do you call it?
Black?
Yeah, spotted black. And yeah, like he was okay. I was digging him out of a wood pile, but man, as soon as those browns came out, and there was something else that I had, bandit, was it Stevens bandit or something like that? That was a pretty aggro snake as well. But yeah, I like the death adder. It was just like a sausage on a hook into a bag. I was like, yeah, that's my jam.
Death adders are my spirit animal. Like, they just sit around and wait for food to come to them, like to you. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
There's a death adder at Australia Zoo that every single time we feed it, it scares me because they move just so quick. Like, you're never ready for it, no matter what. Like, you've got the little pinky on the tongs, and it just explodes out of nowhere, and you're like, how can something so like short and chubby just be so quick over such a short distance? Like, it's just so scary.
Oh, lightning quick. The fastest strike, aren't they, out of any snake?
Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah. Actually, speaking about death adders, one of my mates, he was up in Ku-ring-gai, not too far from me, not too long ago. Oh, I think it was this weekend, actually. And he actually found one day basking. It was the first time. And this guy goes out like all the time. Yep. And it's like, this is the first time I've ever seen one actually day basking, and he almost trod on it. He didn't even see it because it was that just camouflaged.
Yeah, I've managed to. I found a death adder before. Funnily enough, I was out herping with Mick and a friend of ours, Hunter, and we went out and we found a death adder basking on the side of the road at night. I think it was about 9 o'clock at night. It was just sitting there soaking up a little bit of heat just outside St George, and it was a great, nice looking grey form death adder. It was pretty cool. Never seen one in the wild before. Like, I was stoked.
They're like they're my go-to one every year, is try to find a couple of different death adders, because we get the grey and the red form down here in Sydney. So hopefully Jason and I will find a couple this year once we're finally out of our lockdown out here.
It must be hard. It must be so hard for reptile enthusiasts. They can't go herping. They can't do anything like that. They just got to hang out at home and just read non-stop Wilson and Swan.
Yeah, pretty much. I just go for essential walks. They just happen to be in the bush. So,
and just come back with a whole heap of snakes. It's all essential, guys. It's all essential snake catching.
Got my photos. Yep. It's I actually stumbled across a diamond python the other day. I was out collecting a couple of sticks for some enclosures and managed to. It was just in the middle of the path, and I was like, "Oh, this is just handing it to me." I wish it was this easy all the time.
It's so cool. Like, diamond pythons are one of my favorite snakes. Like, I love them. Whenever I go to Sydney, like, I'm always keen to try and find diamonds down there. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was honestly really lucky too, because it was a real cracker for my area as well. Like, you don't usually get bright colour.
Yeah, that's like something from up my way, that diamond.
Yeah, the old Gosford locality.
Yeah.
Love it.
But you get, like, obviously you said, you get like a massive amount of carpet pythons up there. Can you just kind of elaborate on how variable those guys are in like colours and patterns? Because my understanding is you get like a hell of a range of them.
Oh, definitely. Like, I normally run with just no two snakes look the same. They 100%, like, you can get like beautiful. I think a lot of it as well, like, I reckon, no scientific basis behind it whatsoever, but I reckon there are definitely some snakes that are like, bredelize and all that kind of stuff that are breeding with the local carpets and like definitely getting different colorations, because I've seen some super, super dark carpet pythons that, like, they're almost black. They look like like a snake, from up north. And it definitely, like, each different, like, but you can also get ones that are like super, super white, like not white, but like that really, really blonde look carpet python. And it's almost like we got, can't remember whether it made the show, but we rocked up to a call and we found we found a night tiger, so a brown tree snake, and it was like almost like albino. And so there's definitely, it was glowing, like it was a beautiful snake. But yeah, like there's such a wide variety of all those kind of stuff. And I mean, it's the same with the brown snakes as well. Like the brown snakes, no two snakes are the same. Like a lot of the time you see that creamy head with those big scales and you can kind of tell. But, like I've seen like ones that are almost pure black up here as well. Like it's really cool to see the different coloration and stuff. And it is always interesting to see the kinds of carpet python patterns that you get. One big thing that I definitely started noticing a lot more is the stubby tail. There's a lot of the carpet pythons up here have stubby tails. So just behind their cloaca, they just have no tail left. So I don't know whether it's from a predator or it's been like a car or something's knocked it off, or they've just been like born like that for some reason. But that's definitely a noticeable trait that I'm seeing more and more.
Yeah.
My theory is it's like maybe it's a bit of retained shed or something like that that's kind of docked it over time. It just keeps not being able to shed that off, and then eventually it just gets docked. That diamond python that I found the other day actually had the same sort of thing, where it was a little bit short in the tail. It didn't have that kind of prehensile tip on it. That's my theory anyway, because I don't know about up there, but it always looks like it's like really nicely rounded, like it's a clean, like there's no sort of like bit of bone hanging out or anything like that.
Right. It's always very clean. It's never like, and it's always nicely healed over a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found one up my way that was the same, a diamond. Yeah, it's almost like it'd been like cut off properly, like amputated properly. Like there was no, like you said, no bone or anything like that. But yeah, I remember seeing, I'm like, what the heck? Like I pulled it out. I'm just coming out. I was in someone's house and I was like, what the flip? There's no tail on the end of it. But I think you're right. I think it was probably the same reason, like a retained shed or something like that. So
it's only a theory, but yeah. I mean,
makes sense though.
But that have been flattened
good
as well.
Yeah, I'm subscribing to it 100%.
Yeah. But even because obviously I follow your guys' Instagram page as well. Some of the pythons that they get up there, you'd almost think that they were like selectively bred for the color.
Yeah, they look beautiful. They absolutely look stunning. I do enjoy the carpet pythons because it's a little bit more relaxed. You can kind of like muck around with the client. You can have a chat and kind of give them a little bit of teaching and all that kind of thing. It's not just like panic central sweating trying to get something in the bag. You can have a bit of a joke around with it.
Yeah, no, but because I saw, I think it was a while ago, there was like almost a pure, like had like a stripe, like a perfect stripe down its back the whole way. It almost looked like it was line bred for stripes.
Yeah, so good, so amazing, and I'm sure like as the interbreeding and stuff, if it is happening and it happens a little bit more often, that those colors will continue, down the line because they're going to breed and they're going to create even more colors down the line as well.
But yeah, keen to watch the next episode though. That's 8:30 it airs, doesn't it? On a Tuesday?
It's on tonight. It was on tonight that we're doing there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm watching it after, for sure.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm sure Matt J will replay it 5 or 6 times over the next week. You'll be able to catch it.
I've got Optus Fetch, so once it's played, you can have it. It's got like the catch up, so you can basically just watch it whenever you want. So
nice. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things as well. Is like it's awesome being on Nat Geo and stuff, but we had so many people hit us up about when it's coming to free to wear and all that kind of stuff. Because it's like I'm all like I understand why they do it, but locking off content from people can leave people really frustrated, especially like because we did so much promo stuff before it. We did like on the day that it aired, we did all the radio stations. We did like we've done Sunrise, we've done Today, like we've done all that kind of stuff, and people were just like, where can we watch it? And it's like, oh well, you have to get Foxtel or you have to get Fetch or get all these services that require like external set top boxes or satellite dishes and all this kind of stuff, and they're like, can't be bothered. And it's like, all right, unfortunate, but I'm hoping that it will come out to free to wear eventually. So yeah, and when it does, obviously we'll let everyone know, and we'll be probably pushing it just as hard as we did now, because it's going to hopefully reach a really wide audience.
Yeah, well, that's like Bondi Rescue in Sydney. That show's like up to like 11, 12, 13 seasons now, so I don't see any reason why you couldn't keep pumping them out. So
I don't know whether I can do 13 seasons of Belly Bite, though, to be honest. I don't think I've got it in me, because they're going to want me to up the game each time. So I'm going to eventually just have brown snakes nibbling on my toes.
You might have to come up with some sort of elaborate haircut or something like that yourself.
Yeah, that's that's
reverse mullet.
Yeah, the reverse. Yeah, super fringe down the front.
Yeah,
can't see any snake you're catching then.
Yeah. All right. I like to pretend I'm blind anyway. Just make Stuart do it all.
The moral support.
Yeah, it's not even moral support either, because normally I'm just sitting back ridiculing him a lot of the time. Because we're so, we've been mates for so long that a lot of the time, credit where credit is due. Stu's a really, really good snake handler, and he's been doing it for a while now, whereas myself, I kind of come and go, and I definitely don't have anywhere near as much experience now as I did, as we were when we were together. He's well surpassed me. So's Mick. Mick's a lot, a lot of people make fun of him just because of his haircut, but Mick is, even though he's quite young, he is an extremely well-versed snake handler. He's handling some of the most venomous stuff, and it's extremely dangerous. But yeah, and he's happy to free handle and all that kind of thing. And it's not really obviously something that we want to encourage people to do. But we do, there's a warning at the front of the show. We're obviously all, we've all got the right permits, and we've all got years and years of experience in handling snakes. And the girls as well, obviously Jess, she's a former spotter as well. She handles a lot of Veno, and so does Adele. Olivia's getting there. She, if we do get another season, another run at it, she'll probably be handling Veno stuff as going forward. But yeah, it's always, it's just one of those things. A lot of people, they were very conscious to make it look because the girls, we're not really training them. The girls are their own thing, and they've got their own experience and all that kind of stuff. So definitely there's no, we're not trying to get them to stay back at all. They are just as much involved as every one of the guys.
Yeah. No, it's a really good show. I'm looking forward to going and watching it after this. So I had to up the Foxtel package just so I could get the Nat Geo and a few other channels on there. And my wife's going, it's an extra $10 a month. And I'm like, I'm getting all these other documentary channels as well, babe. I'm good. I'm sorted. No more maths for me.
Hey, you've only got one TV though.
Hey, there's a bunch of snakes.
Yeah, I'm not usually a TV guy myself. I'm on Netflix or YouTube pretty much. I don't really watch free to air sort of stuff, but for the sake of being able to watch this on demand and other shows like it and stuff and other documentaries, yeah, why not?
Yeah, and I think as well, really, as far as we're going, to have a good standing in the industry, I think is pretty important to us. We didn't want to come out and make it ridiculous and have the whole reptile industry or the whole animal industry kind of hate us, because I feel a lot of the time that can sometimes happen. You over dramatize stuff and it becomes a joke. And I think we've kind of found that middle ground, and I'm pretty happy with the way the guys cut it all together, because obviously if you guys are, not that you ridicule me on your own podcast, come on. But I feel if we're getting this kind of feedback, then it's pretty good. We're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, I have to say, when Jace was telling me that you guys were coming on, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of want to watch the show before I know what I'm in for, sort of thing, because I was a little bit skeptical, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was actually, the only disappointing thing, I was like, damn it, I just wish it was longer.
That's it's like I said before, it's incredibly hard to get these kind of shows off the ground. The fact that we got 16 episodes and they're I think it's 25-minute episodes, so half an hour blocks. That's pretty big. That's pretty decent size. A lot of the time, you might get a limited run, 10 episodes, and you rarely. It's a lot of content to shoot. As soon as you push it out to an hour and you start doing, like, I remember back in the day, it wasn't even that long ago, like you watch shows like Lost where they're doing 24 episode seasons and they're an hour long. Like, that is a lot of content to shoot. And to be honest, like, in the amount of time that we had and the budgets that we had to do the show, it probably wouldn't work, and it wouldn't have the same quality. I think we definitely tried to push for quality over quantity. But yeah, they go super quick. Like, when I watched them myself, and you're like, oh, it's over already. Like, they do go quite quickly, and I guess it gets you wanting to come back, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. Like, even coming from like my limited YouTube background and stuff, and being able to see what's kind of popular with my audience, and that, like, it tends to be in that 15 minute to half an hour bracket, tend to be really popular for my stuff. And I can see why, because it's easy for somebody to sit down and digest that quickly without losing interest in it or whatever, like where some of my longer videos or whatever might be out there and people faint off it, and they've, you can see how long the average watch is or whatever on a video, and it might be 20 minutes instead of the 50-minute video that's there or whatever. So it's kind of good to be able to just sit down. Like, it's so easy to sit down and just pay attention for 15, 20 minutes on something versus something that is a lot longer.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned before, like, that just puts it down to the media landscape is changing. A lot of people, in the time where we've got, on-demand streaming, and you've got binge watching. Like, how many times do you jump on Netflix and you binge watch a whole season of a TV show, which might have taken, like, that might have been like 18 weeks worth of episodes. Like, I remember not that long ago where, they always used to call Lost the water cooler show because it was on every week and you couldn't really binge watch it back then. Like, it was on once per week and everyone would chat about it at work. And, like Game of Thrones as well. Like, Game of Thrones is a great example. Like, everyone would froth on Game of Thrones, and it was rare that you wouldn't be able to binge watch it back then because it came out once per week. And so, yeah, media landscapes change. And this is where we are. I definitely think that, like online stuff, YouTube, it is hard. It's hard to get a good following on YouTube now, and I think everyone's kind of waiting around to see what the next big thing's going to be. Like, I'm definitely, like, I love the live streams. I used to do a lot of live streams for snake calls on my Instagram. I kind of stopped doing that when I stopped doing a lot of snake calls, just because I didn't really have time to do it. But those kind of things, I definitely see that as the future, because it's like on-demand entertainment straight up. Like, you are in that person. So, like, and you're living that situation as they're living it, and I think that's why it's really important with that kind of thing. And it is, in a bad way, COVID's kind of bringing on, like, I noticed that Dan Rumsey and the guys at Australian Reptile Park, they're doing a lot of live stream stuff for their zoo stuff, and that's really cool. Like, I think it's making the best of the bad situation. Like, there's not really much else they can do. So instead of, like, laying off all their staff, they're like, all right, well, what kind of video stuff can we use? How can we still get views? How can we still get our name in people's faces for that kind of thing? And I really love the live stream stuff. Like, I do love off the cuff stuff. I do love just living in the moment and just seeing, like, where or when you can take it, and just taking, what's coming in and giving it back out. Like, I do love that kind of thing. That's the kind of media that I enjoy. But yeah, no, it's definitely going to be an interesting, like, 5 years coming up, I reckon.
That's for sure.
Changing the field. Yep.
That's the one. Got to get ahead of the curve, boys. Multi-millionaires.
Exactly.
Oh, we can only dream. At least then I can get a proper house and some lace monitor pits out the back. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and then you'll have, like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing with herp people. Like, you could be a multi-millionaire, and all that means is just so much more herp.
Yep.
So many more mouths to feed.
Bigger power.
Doesn't matter when you can pay for somebody else to clean it all and feed it all and do all that sort of stuff. I just go out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh dear. Going to be interesting.
Oh, mate. Well, I think we might wrap this up. Have you got anything else you want to touch on, Jace?
Nah, I'm going to actually watch that episode, I think.
Yeah, why not? Oh, yeah, exactly what I'm going to do.
Let me know what you think, and you got to be honest.
Oh,
You're
no,
Oh,
I
we
was
will be.
enjoying it.
Nah, thank you so much, guys, for having me on. This is actually the first kind of podcasting that I've done. So I think it's been a really good starting point, and I really enjoyed my time. Like, love chatting with you guys, and it's cool chatting with guys that got the same love for animals and herpetology and all that kind of stuff. So thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming on, mate. I like to think that we're reasonably chilled about it all. I always explain to anybody that's nervous before they're coming on, I'm like, it's just a chat. Like I'm sitting here having a beer, just enjoying some stories. It's an awesome time. So no, we really appreciate you coming on, mate.
Nah, that's all right. No worries. Now the promo begins.
Yeah. Just while we are talking about it, do you want to throw out any sort of like social media or anything like that for either the snake catchers or yourself?
Well, you can search Aussie Snake Wranglers on Facebook, Instagram, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously Stu's got his own business, Sunshine Coast Snake Catchers 24/7. You can check that out on Facebook. And if you're, for some weird reason, like what I'm doing, you can hit me up at Tyrannosaurus Soul on Instagram, and it'll come up.
Nothing but belly bites.
Nothing but belly bites. That's it. It's like non-stop gallery of my belly.
I'm looking forward to that one. All right, guys, we'd like to say a massive thank you to Eric and Owen and the rest of the NPR crew for having us. If you'd like to contact them, it's best to find them at moreliapythonradio.net and email them at info@moreliapythonradio.net. As far as contacting us in our social media platforms, you can email us at australianherpetoculture@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Make sure to check out our Teespring store for podcast merch. Link is on the Facebook page. To see more of what Jason is up to, make sure to follow him on Facebook and Instagram at The Gecko Effect. For myself, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Patreon, Teespring, under Beacher Scaly Beasts. We hope to have you back next week for another episode of the Australian Herpetoculture podcast. Good night, guys.
Good night.